Ladies and gentlemen, we are live tonight for another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control. And tonight we have another Cup Series custom schedule season race for you guys this evening. It will be taking place at the Kansas Speedway for the running of the Banquet 400. We come into tonight's race for the 20th race of the season. That means we have 17 races left. And this is a season-long points format, so the point standings that you'll see scrolling across the top of the screen throughout tonight's action, those points obviously will not be reset in any way, shape, or form, so our driver Greg Biffle, who comes in 6th in points, still over 100 points out of first, needs to get back on his winning ways. He was able to do so in last night's Cup Series race that took place on another mile-and-a-half racetrack at Las Vegas. We'll see if he can get back-to-back wins on the mile-and-a-halves. It was his first mile-and-a-half racetrack victory last night, so trying to do it 2 nights in a row. And this is an afternoon race, I guess, at Kansas, at least from the 2005 season. We'll be doing it the same way, starting from last place. No practice, no qualifying as we get into tonight's coverage. Wade Zielinski, Matthew Dordo, Bruno, Corey Freet, and others, welcome into the stream. The Subway paint scheme has been good luck for us so far this season. We'll see how good of luck it'll be today as the green flag is in the air, and pole sitter Jeff Gordon will lead the field to the green as they head towards turns 1 and 2. And a lot of 2 and 3 wide racing already through the first corner. And by the exit of turn 2, Biffle's 3 wide with Casey Mears and Ryan Newman, who qualified towards the back of the field. And honestly, I'm going to back way out of it because I have no clue what this car's going to handle like right now. Already overdrove that third corner on the opening lap of the race. And Jeff Gordon will lead the opening lap. Comes in as the points leader. Biffle had a great launch on the start. Had a possibility of passing about 3 or 4 cars on that opening lap, but played it safe. A lot of cars in that outside lane off of turn 4 as they try to hold their lane. Derek Booth, Blum, also welcome into the stream. Car feels very loose. I do not like that. Not this early in the run, especially. 3 wide again off turn 2. Doing a good job keeping it off each other. But all the side-by-side and 3 wide battling's allowing Greg Biffle to close in again. Biffle not really looking to pass right now. Really trying to get a good feel for his race car first. Lifted quite a bit off turn 4 just to try to stay in line behind the car in front of him. Asher Moy, thanks for tuning in also. Doing great. Hopefully you guys are doing pretty good as well. Greg Biffle got to get by Shane Meal. Joe Nemechek actually had a run on the outside while Biffle goes to the inside of Boris Said, taking him 3 wide. Now he's 3 wide with Ryan Newman in the 171 car. Biffle making some passes. 31.166 that last lap. Squeezes under John Andretti in the 14. I think this 16 car's got an absolute rocket ship again tonight. Loose is fast if he can hang on to it. Hopefully on the long run it's not going to be overly loose. It's the only thing he's really got to hope for. This gets to the inside of Brian Vickers. 31.162 that last lap. Do not want to clip that apron. Especially with a loose race car as it is already. True Assassin 86X, thanks for tuning in. I did see the news. Ty Gibbs going to be driving the 54 car in the Cup Series next season. The 18 car will not be in the Cup Series next year. So that'll be very strange. I hadn't even seen that number on the track. I'm just kind of staying on the bottom lane as a bunch of cars they're kind of stuck on the outside, stay in front of him as he moves right up in front of Casey Mears in the middle of the corner. They stacked up on the bottom lane that time. He wanted to make sure he was going to have the 41 clear, and he was able to do so. Contact a little further up ahead. Biffle going all the way to the bottom. Really low exit to turn 4. So he's underneath the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield. Biffle going to let Mayfield back down into the bottom. Seemed like the 19 was running the 16 pretty tightly. Biffle's still going to clear Bobby Labonte off turn 2. And back to the inside of the 19 again into the corner. Terry Labonte on the outside, 3 wide. Very tight that time through 3 and 4. Close quarters racing going on right now in the middle of the pack. It is sketchy, but Biffle working his way through cleanly. Despite not getting to feel this car out before the drop of the green flag. Mark DeMar is also welcome into the stream. Jimmy Spencer, Jeff Burton mid-pack, both on the outside of Biffle. 3 wide into 3. A lot of 3 wide racing that Biffle's been doing down on the bottom. He's doing a great job keeping it off the other cars around him as he's making his way through, and he's already about halfway through the field to 24th. In just 9 laps. It took him 34 laps to go from last to first last night. Can't use the apron at Kansas like he did at Las Vegas. Part of how he had the fastest car in the field last night. Led just shy of 200 of the 267 laps. Same distance in tonight's race, 267 laps, 400 miles. Biffle trying to manage these tires well as he's underneath the 10 of Scott Riggs. It'll make a pass for 20th. 43 is Jeff Green. Did I say Bobby Labonte? Next game. Harvick, Leffler to the outside of Biffle. The drive off the exit of the corner is so good for Greg Biffle. If it's loose anywhere, it's typically feeling like it's loose in rather than loose off. So he's able to take a really low exit to the corner to really try to take as much of a shortcut really as possible. And the car's not automatically turning that way. That's nice. Slides back up in line. Dale Jarrett going to try the outside this time through turns 3 and 4. Get a little run potentially off the exit of turn 4. Oop, that didn't work. Ran at 30.893. I'm sure we'll see much faster lap times than that once we get into the open traffic, because this car feels very quick. It almost feels quicker than what it did last night at Vegas, to be completely honest. Maybe that's just the tighter racetrack because there isn't as much of a gap between the wall and the apron here as what there is at Vegas. That track being much flatter in 2005. Biffle's worked his way up to 16th on the inside of Jarrett for 15th, in fact, on the back straightaway. Gordon has led the first 13 laps at the front of the field. Biffle gets by Johnson. Jimmy still top 5 in points, but winless on the season. I did, actually, yeah. I made it there about 15 minutes before they closed. I mean, driving time-wise, it only took a couple minutes to get there. So I wasn't too worried about it. So we got the stream wrapped up at 8:30 last night. I knew I was going to be in and out of there, too. It wasn't like they were having to wait on me. Michael Turner, thanks for tuning in. Yep, we briefly discussed the Ty Gibbs news. Awfully close between Greg Biffle and Michael Waltrip. Little contact. Biffle really aggressive, trying to get by the 15 for 12th. He went down to the apron through the tri-oval, and then when he came across the apron the second time to get back up onto the racetrack, car kind of bottomed out, and it threw him up into Waltrip. Waltrip going to be able to cross him over now into turns 3 and 4. Down on the bottom as he'll slide clear, and Biffle's going to try to get back underneath the 15. That was way too low. Got to clip the grass a little bit, got the car a bit loose. Still stayed underneath the 15 though. Clip the apron in the middle of the corner. It slides clear of Waltrip by the exit of turn 2. And back up to 12th place again goes Biffle. Kyle Busch looking to the inside of the 15 as well. Rusty Wallace getting passed by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Wallace trying to block to the bottom. Biffle going even lower. With a run, but Rusty Wallace really trying to block right now into turns 3 and 4. A wide arc by Biffle. Pins the car down to the bottom of the racetrack in the middle of 3 and 4. And clears Rusty off the exit of turn 4 for 11th. So he's almost worked his way into the top 10 after starting last in about 20 laps. And he's only 1.8 seconds off the race leader. Mostly single file through the top 10 once Travis Quaffle clears Elliott Sadler off turn 2 for 8th place. And Greg Biffle right behind Dale Jr. in that battle for 10th. Ford hold on to that clean air and track position at the front of the field. Biffle looking low underneath Dale Jr. trying to side draft him. Crowding each other down into turn 1. Jr. crowds Biffle a little too much. Slight contact made on corner entry. Biffle's car getting a bit loose again. Hangs on to it though. Biffle in the top 10 for the first time tonight. Junior scrapes the wall a bit off turn 4 as well. Never run the apron because you'll have no space. I don't buy into that. I don't think it's... I will say it's probably... Of any of the mile and a halves to take the shortcut, this is probably the one to not do it as much. I mean, I've gotten to the inside of a couple cars doing it. When I have the run and they try to protect the bottom lane, I'm going to go down there to at least get alongside of them. If I could side draft them enough going into the corner, I could stay alongside of them. You know, even if I don't clear them through 1 and 2, I should have them by the other end of the racetrack. If I have the speed, obviously, to get around them. It's kind of a last-ditch effort to go down there. With everything kind of packed together here in the early going with that double file start. Not as spacious through the field right now. We'll wear the tires out a bit more, and the car could get a bit loose also. Can't tell who's in second up there right behind Jeff Gordon. .956 that last lap. Lap time's already fallen off a little bit. Quaffle stuck on the outside. Biffle to the inside of Sadler off of turn 2. Door to door right now for 9th. Quaffle trying to cross Kurt Busch over for position. He'll get to the inside of the 97. Greg Biffle squeezes 3 wide off turn 4 as Biffle gets underneath the 77. Biffle's been very risky so far. Quaffle really pinching Biffle going into 1. Trying to side draft him. The rookie not going to be able to hold on. And Biffle's up to 7th. And clear of Quaffle off turn 2. Yeah, Quaffle must have qualified pretty well. Highest running Penske so far. And I think the highest running Dodge overall in this race. .27 laps in. I don't think we're going to get to the lead in 34 laps like last night. Edwards is in second. Yep. Ken's at third. Bobby Labonte fourth. Mike Bliss rounds out the top 5 behind Jeff Gordon, the race leader. Gordon logging in quite a few laps led right now. Before the run, gets to the inside of Tony Stewart. Has the advantage down into turn 1 underneath smoke. It clears him for 6th. Biffle clipping the apron, middle of the corner. He gets loose and saves it. Definitely a big stack up. It's going to burn the rear tires off the car just a bit more. He's got cars blowing around him on the outside right now. First time he had clipped the apron and had gotten loose in this race today. Pushed it a little too hard, but he made a great save, and Tony Stewart did a great job keeping it off of him, because if Tony Stewart didn't check up, he probably would have just turned that 16 car right around, even if Biffle didn't. Whether he saved it or not, really. That drops him back to 9th place, as it wasn't 6th. And in a battle with Mike Bliss, as he just got underneath Bliss going into turn 3. The time of him getting loose. Biffle's been on the attack. And almost bit him finally. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you have not already. Got 17 people watching, 11 likes. We had 32 likes at the end of last night's stream. Greatly appreciate you guys doing that. We went caution-free last night at Las Vegas, by the way. It was the first caution-free race of the season. We'll see what happens today at Kansas on another 1.5 miles. I doubt we're going to go caution-free 2 races in a row. It'd be insane if we don't have one for the first 19 races of the year, then we finally get one, then we end up having like 2 in a row or something like that. That'd be pretty crazy. Be lucky to have another one the rest of the season, to be completely honest. Well, halfway on fuel at this point in the run right now for Greg Biffle. Kurt Busch squeezes to the inside of the 77 of Travis Kvapil. Greg Biffle got to follow the 97 car. Busch clears Kvapil. Kvapil tried to squeeze in the middle, and he nearly clipped both the Roush cars. He did clip them, but Kurt Busch got the worst of it as he ended up in the wall. I don't know what Travis Kvapil was thinking there. He had a run off turn 4 somehow underneath the 97 and just on the outside of Greg Biffle. He tried to squeeze 3 wide the middle of the trial. Well, there was no room to do that. And Kurt Busch is going to fall outside the top 10 now after he got into the wall. Biffle's able to get by both cars for 7th. A little bit of a rookie mistake there from Kvapil. And we still stay caution-free. All this contact over the recent laps for Biffle. Couple of loose moments now. Once in the trial just moments ago, and then at 3 and 4 about 10 laps or so ago. And he already started with a fairly loose race car. It's just getting looser and looser and looser the more he burns those rear tires off the car. We're only just past halfway through the field run. I think this is the right setup and shouldn't have to make any adjustments as long as he can take care of his tires during the run. But him starting at the rear of the field, really trying to fight his way forward here. He's using a lot of his tires in this opening run. Christopher McComas, thanks for tuning in. Cold rainy day, West Virginia. Yeah, it's been pretty much flurrying all afternoon where I live. Flurrying, freezing rain mix. We're closing back in on Tony Stewart in the 20. Really low exit to turn 2. Stewart with a block. Jeff Gordon dominating this race so far. He's finally slowly starting to pull away into the second half of the fuel and tire stint. as Kenseth has gotten around Carl Edwards within the last couple laps for second. He's pulling away from the 99. Store the big block. And he got a little loose. Biffle couldn't capitalize, almost got underneath him, but not quite. Tony leaving just enough of the bottom open that time for Biffle to squeeze underneath him in turns 3 and 4. Stewart got to run that 16 car pretty low through the tri-oval. Really try to side draft that right rear corner panel, but Biffle's clear into turn 1 for 6th. Travis Quaffle is, Quaffle. I don't know if you meant to put that in the chat or not. Middle name is Wade. I wouldn't have known that. I don't think I know any driver's middle names, to be completely honest. I might have heard some of them before, but off the top of my head, I don't know any of them that I could think of. Maybe some of the nicknames for some of the drivers might be their middle name. I have no clue. In certain cases. Like Ryan Newman's middle name is not Rocket Man. There's some that probably aren't the case. Tony Stewart's middle name is not Smoke. I doubt that's on their birth certificates. Top 6 still within about a second of each other right now. Everybody else behind Greg Biffle, losing a little bit of time. Biffle just ran his fastest lap, 30.834 that last lap. Right in line behind Mike Bliss, who is a little bit off the bottom. Biffle to the inside of the 0. Side by side, back straightaway. Biffle trying to side draft Bliss, who's on the outside lane. Into turn 3 they go. Biffle on that white line. Desperately to stay alongside Bliss. Side drafted him off the exit of turn 4. Bliss down the track to side draft Biffle back in the tri-oval. What a battle for position right now. Both drivers trying to get in the top 5. And Biffle will win the battle. Notice every car since getting in the top 10 has been so much harder to pass after Biffle flew through the first probably 30 cars through the field. Once he got up to about 12th, it's kind of been a slow process in him trying to gain spot by spot after that. Edwards back to second, putting more pressure on Jeff Gordon. And may have a shot to get around Gordon. And Gordon may lose the lead in turns 1 and 2. He runs about a half a lane off the bottom, and then Edwards gets a little tight. And Gordon gaps him by a half a car length off the exit of the corner. Ivy Labonte trying to close. So is Biffle. Bliss now losing pace. Labonte loose up the racetrack. Biffle intimidated the 18 car. Labonte did a great job keeping it off the wall, but Biffle's going to be able to pull clear off turn 2. And make it probably the quickest pass he's made of anybody in the top 10 thus far. Kenseth to the inside of Edwards. Gordon trying to fend off 3 Roush Fenway Fords behind him now. And after starting last in 45 laps, Biffle's within a half a second of the lead for the first time. Edwards runs way wide through 1 and 2. Biffle quickly to the inside of the 99. Biffle's got a rocket ship. It's definitely quick. It's sketchy in the sense that it's pretty loose in the corners, but we're driving it Larson style today. I mean, you can almost see the rear of the car in the middle of the corner to the exit of the corner, just kind of looking like it's skewed out towards the wall more. Biffle to the inside of Kenseth. It seemed like his teammates kind of let him through. Biffle clear off turn 2 for second, and now trying to run down Jeff Gordon. Gordon's going to be the hardest car to pass of them. At least you would have to think that would be the case. Biffle closing quite a bit in the middle of the corner. He gets underneath Jeff Gordon. Gordon with a little bit more straightaway speed, though, down the back. Ran a bit higher of a lane. More towards the middle. Gordon trying to hold on to the lead. Quarter tank of gas left for Greg Biffle at this point in the run. Approaching that first pit stop of the race fairly soon. It was a 4-stop race last night at Las Vegas. I'd have to imagine it'll be another 4-stop race today at Kansas. Saying bump draft, I'm not actually bump drafting Jeff Gordon. Man, all the way to the outside. Can't get the car to turn with Gordon right there. Off the exit of turn 2. Gordon a little bit better corner exit speed. And I think that's why it's so hard to pass Jeff Gordon in this race. Because of how good he is and how much straightaway speed that 24 car has. It's the reason Gordon has finished second or better in 3 of the last 4 races, including 2 wins at IRP and Bristol, which were back-to-back. Biffle tight in the middle of the corner. Gordon really trying to mimic the line of the 16, and it's making Biffle's life a little harder to try and pass Jeff Gordon as a result. Biffle goes to the bottom, Gordon goes down there. Biffle tries to shake his lane in the middle or the top, Gordon's also right there. Gordon just a lot better handling car at this point in the run. You can really see Biffle fighting the race car right now all the way through these quarters, just trying to keep control of it. Trying to keep control and race at the same time. Might be asking for trouble with how hard he's pushing it right now. But knowing Gordon's the points leader, he doesn't want him to lead the most laps if at all possible. Higher Biffle runs in the middle of the corner too. It's going to be harder and harder to get around that 24 car. And obviously more at risk of hitting the wall as well. See how much more stable his car is in the middle of the corner. It's almost like Gordon's car's got a lot more downforce. He had a lot more horsepower also. Kind of insane, actually. Biffle's so close. I wonder who's going to pit first between the 16 and the 24. Biffle going to try to stay out of the pits as long as he can. We'll see what that can actually do for him. Biffle really loose that time on entry. Four inches of snow. Jeez. Seems like quite a bit this time of the year. See one lap car towards the rear of the field right now. Biffle, for just the safety precautions, might have to just wait to try to get by Jeff Gordon. Just because of how loose the car is this late in the fuel and tire stint. We do have some cars pitting. Biffle really close to that white line. Shakes up the racetrack just a bit. Looks like Kurt Busch is on his way into the pits. Biffle way down on the inside. Gordon chops Biffle off in the middle of the corner, though. Biffle got so close to getting underneath the 24 that time. Looking low again on the back straightaway. Gordon going down to try and block again into turn 3. And Gordon will pit. With Gordon pitting, Greg Biffle will lead his first lap of the race at the start-finish line. Well, there you go. 5 bonus points for Greg Biffle leading his first lap of the day. So that's one way to do it. Longer stays out, though, the more of a chance Gordon's going to cycle well in front of Biffle, following the green flag pit stops. Right rear in the yellow on the tire wear indicator. No surprise that that's the first tire to work its way into the yellow on that tire wear indicator. Biffle can go a few more laps on fuel, and then he's going to have to pit. Jeff Gordon has dominated the race, so he led every lap up until he pitted. And now Greg Biffle's led the last 2, make it 3 laps at the start-finish line as he continues to stay out of the pits. And Biffle will pit at lap 61, so he'll stay out this time by as well. And then lap 61, that 16 car will be on his way in. No practice or qualifying, so he did not get to practice a green flag pit stop. So he's going to have to make sure he does not wreck here. And we'll see. Hopefully he can make a clean stop. Make sure to hit pit road speed and not speed. 70 miles per hour is the pit road speed limit every track on this game. A 2.3 second lead, by the way, for Biffle. He's not the only car still on the racetrack. We'll see if anybody will stay out any longer to try to get 5 bonus points as well, as Greg Biffle will be on his way into the pits this time. Doesn't have anybody directly behind him, so he was able to really use that racetrack. Gasses it up there towards the last second. 4 tires and fuel for Greg Biffle. No adjustments to this loose race car, but yeah, loose fast if he can hang on to it. So far, he's held on to it. Clean stops so far in that Subway Ford. 15.2 seconds, and Biffle's off and away. And there's Matt Kenseth in the 17, who actually pitted the same lap as Greg Biffle, who will get up to speed quicker. Will be the next question. There goes Jeff Gordon. Carl Edwards. And Kenseth will get up to speed a bit quicker than Biffle. And Biffle's going to be on the inside of Bliss. As he gets up to speed, he'll be in 5th place. Kenseth out in 3rd, and Jeff Gordon back in the lead. No surprise, Biffle stayed out about 5 laps longer than Gordon. Pretty fast stop, though, by the 17 car to cycle out ahead of Biffle. He was a couple seconds behind him. Biffle had a pretty fast, clean stop of his own right. Kenseth still trying to go for that first win of the season as well. Biffle gets by Tony Stewart for 4th. Should be clear. Moves up to block him just to make sure he's clear. As he was. Red X over Mark Martin. I think he's got a problem. He blew an engine in last night's race at Las Vegas as well. And unfortunately, may have an issue today also. Greg Biffle looking low into turn 1 underneath Matt Kenseth. For P3, and he's got the spot. And there's Martin down on the apron of the racetrack heading towards turn 3. So Mark Martin's afternoon has come to an end. Back-to-back DNFs for him. He was in the top dozen in points, too, before last night's race. This could drop him outside the top 15 in the standings. No chaser playoff format, but chance at a top 10 points finish is starting to dwindle for Mark Martin. Middle of the season. On a 1 second lead right now for Jeff Gordon over Carl Edwards. Biffle right behind the 99 and closing quick. Biffle looks low off turn 4. Edwards with a block in the tri-oval to hold on to second. Not going to be as lenient as Matt Kenseth was in that battle for position, it appears, into turn 1. Biffle going to have to force his way underneath, and by the time he actually got to the inside of the 99, then Edwards gave him more room. But up until then, he wasn't going to give him room. And clear in that corner by the exit, so Biffle trying to run down Jeff Gordon. Biffle and Gordon have had the 2 fastest cars in a lot of the recent races, and at least one of them have had the fastest car, it seems like, in these last 4 races, whether they've gone to victory lane or not. Biffle winning last night at Las Vegas, a win at Bristol and IRP for Gordon, a second place finish last night as well for Jeff Gordon at Las Vegas, and Biffle finished second at IRP to Jeff Gordon, so Biffle led the most laps also at Bristol, even though Gordon won. Biffle led 247 to the 500 laps. And only outlier was when Kurt Busch won the Brickyard 400 at Indy, but Jeff Gordon was the one who ended up leading the most laps in that race. So it's really, really been the 2 fastest cars in the field over the last 4 races, and they've won 3 of those 4. And they finished 1-2 in 2 of them. Could be another 1-2 finish for Gordon and Biffle again tonight. Trying to press forward as the championship favorites in the middle of the season. This could be a good battle between the 24 and the 16 on a week-to-week basis. Biffle's got the 100-point deficit, but if he keeps chipping away, beating Gordon by a position or 2 every race, he will get there. He doesn't have to worry about Gordon having the DNF. He just has to be really consistent and can't afford to have any more bad finishes. Looks like Boris Said was the first car to go a lap down tonight. Jack up 23:45. Thanks for tuning in. I have no clue what you're talking about. Kind of odd. Oh, Gordon went wide off turn 4. Biffle trying to clear the 36 of Said, though. And he'll stay clear of him once he got to the start-finish line that time. Right back into the same battle we had right before green flag pit stops. A lot of clean air in front of Jeff Gordon again, though. Best chance is when he gets closer to behind a lap car. If that might be the opportunity for Biffle to try to pounce. Oh, man. Biffle got really tight off turn 4 behind Gordon. And he ended up hitting the wall pretty good. Enough so that Boris Said's going to get underneath him in turns 1 and 2. Biffle gets enough speed off the exit of the corner, though, to get back down to the bottom in front of Said into turn 3. A little arrow loose in the middle of the corner at the 36 all over his rear spoiler. Imagine if Jeff Gordon blew an engine right after he said, don't worry about him. I mean, I'll take it, but I'd hate to close in that way, because I do think we have speed in the race car in recent races, even though I've only gotten good finishes in 2 of them. We've had the speed, and we've definitely got the speed again tonight, and I think we can get a good run. Like to see a dual one-on-one here between Biffle and Gordon. Be pretty fun to watch. So lap 76 right now. So these two had fast green flag pit stops, but I wonder if we end up getting a caution, how quick they're going to end up being through pit stops. Can they be just as quick would be the question. 30.824 was Biffle's fastest lap of the race, and he just ran it that last time by. And Gordon's got the straightaway speed, but he also has the downforce in the middle of the corner too. I just think overall that 24 car is pretty superior than the 16, but I almost wonder if the 16 could jump out in front of the 24 through like pit stop cycling or something, then maybe that'll be the difference, and Gordon will be right behind Biffle just like Biffle is behind Gordon. I wonder if that track position is really the only difference maker right now between Gordon and Biffle. We'll really never know unless Biffle could actually outright pass the 24. Biffle led 5 laps in the last run, but it was after Jeff Gordon pitted, and he stayed out about 5 laps longer than him. Not going to be able to use a lap car as a pick. It's going to be a lot harder to do that on a 1.5 miles than, say, a short track like he was able to do at IRP when they were battling for the lead in the early going. Hash and G, thanks for tuning in. Xbox One and PS4 cross-platform or no? I don't think they are. I would have to say probably no. I mean, there might be some games that are. I really have no clue if it's like that for all games or not. I know for the NASCAR games it wasn't cross-platform. I think the only way that there could be a pick on a 1.5 miles is if you get a really good corner exit speed, you get down, but then potentially cars are battling for position a lap down. It'll probably be the best of the chances to be able to actually get something to happen out of that. Oh, Gordon and Biffle making a little contact. And Biffle's got the lead by about 2 seconds. I think Gordon got in the wall. Well, you hated to see that happen that way, but Biffle's in the lead as he got to the left rear corner panel of Jeff Gordon. And Biffle leads for the first time under regular conditions now. I don't think Gordon's going to be too happy with Greg Biffle. I guess Biffle just ran it in too deep. I didn't really think I was there. I thought he was still fully clear on me and just slightly tagged him in the left rear, but that's all it takes at these higher rated speeds on this intermediate racetrack. Contact at 165, 170 miles per hour plus. Definitely knock a car sideways, and Gordon's going to be lucky just to be in second. I didn't want to pass him that way. I'm afraid he's a rival. He definitely had to get into the wall or something for him to fall 2 seconds off the lead. Biffle's got more lap traffic to deal with. We'll take our first field pass of the race first, though. And we'll go from there. We'll transfer back to Carl Edwards in the 99. And Edwards is actually in second now. Jeff Gordon isn't even in second place. Really low exit for Edwards. Biffle getting around those lap cars up there. A little contact. Right around Edwards with a couple lap cars he was trying to get by. A little too desperate there. Hey, Gordon fell way back. Another car blowing up on the inside of the track. And it's Jeff Green in the 43. So Mark Martin, Jeff Green appear to be the first two drivers to have blown engines in tonight's race. They'll be scored 42nd and 43rd in the finishing order, unless they come back out on the track later if we get more DNFs. F122 has crossover no matter what platform. Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured there was more of a chance of newer games to have that, but there's probably some older games, non-NASCAR related, that have cross play, I would have to imagine. So one more lap with Carl Edwards. Wonder if Kenseth's potentially in third. We'll transfer back to Matt Kenseth as we get to the start-finish line. And Kenseth's actually back in sixth. And he'll get by Bobby Labonte for fifth pretty easily through 1 and 2. He also passed lap car Boris Said. 5.5 seconds back as Kenseth in the fifth place position. Sadler in seventh, 38. Another pretty solid run for that Robert Yates Racing Ford. Kind of stinks we won't be able to switch to Mark Martin at all tonight with him out of the race early. He didn't blow up last night until about 100 to go, but tonight it was in the first 100 laps where he had blown an engine just after green flag pit stops earlier. At 25 people watching right now, 18 likes on the stream. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Daily content on the channel. We race NASCAR 6 again tomorrow night on our custom scheduled Cup Series season, and we'll head to Darlington under the lights for a 400-mile race. And the first trip of 2 to the Lady in Black on this season. The only night race of the 2 of them, so that'll be a fun one. And then Thursday night, our Throwback Thursday live stream, will be rewatching the 1998 Daytona 500. And that will start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have a little watch along there. Some more off-season NASCAR content. I'll go back to Edwards a second time. Means Mark Martin is not usable with him out of the race. So I'll have to get to Kurt Busch yet, too, during this field pass, which we'll do next. Biffle with about a 1.6 second lead at the line over Edwards. Trying to squeeze under Shane Meal. Edwards should have been a little more patient there. Clip the apron and then clip Meal. Neither car wrecked, and if anything, that costed Edwards a little bit of time because now he's about an extra 0.3 of a second back from where he was at the start-finish line last time by. Edwards hooks the white line a lot better that time and clears Meal off turn 2. Took him an extra lap to pass him after the contact, but he has finally gotten around him. Halfway on fuel during this point in the run right now with Carl Edwards. Greg Biffle pitted at lap 61 for his first stop of the race. It's one of the last cars to pit. Everybody that stayed out as long as Biffle, nobody stayed out longer than him, but there were a handful of cars that stayed out just as long as he did at lap 61, like his teammate Matt Kenseth and a few others. Edwards drives hard through 1 and 2. Clears Petty off the exit of the corner. We'll swap to Kurt Busch at the start-finish line this time by to the 97 at lap 97. See where he's at. Haven't really seen Kurt Busch in the running order yet today. Kurt back in the 10th place position right now. Sharpie Ford. So, I mean, if Martin didn't DNF, I mean, I'm not sure where he was running before that. But the other 4 Roush Fenway Fords that are on the track are running first, 8th, and 10th. Or first, second, 8th, and 10th. Not too bad. Kurt Busch going to try to get by Dale Jr. for another spot as well. Little block off turn 2 for Earnhardt. Kurt Busch going to squeeze under him through turns 3 and 4. He clears him. And blocks him for 9th. Top to bottom in the middle of the tri-oval, back towards the top into 1. Junior stays a bit wide through turns 1 and 2. Kurt going to hook that white line on the bottom of the racetrack. Mark Martin mid-pack before he blew a motor. Maybe that's why he blew it. Maybe he was like sputtering compared to the other Fords in the field. Wasn't keeping up with the rest of us. Again, it has been a Ford-dominated season. Even if you look at the point standings, which we only show the top 10. But Mark Martin was top 15 in points coming into the night still, and that was even after DNF with an engine failure earlier last night in the race. But between the 2 Robert Yates Racing Fords still in the top 10, and then 3 of the 4 Roush Fords in the top 10 right now. The only one that isn't in the top 10 is Matt Kenseth, and he's 12th in points. So, I mean, it is a Ford-dominated season so far. They've won a lot of races. Greg Biffle, of course, with the most wins. He has 7. Mark Martin has 2. Edwards has 1. Kurt Busch has 1. Kenseth, the only one without a win as far as actual points races are concerned when it comes to Roush Fenway Racing. But then you have the other Fords of Elliott Sadler and Dale Jarrett with the victory each. And again, both in the top 10 in points. 1 in 2nd, 1 in 9th. 8th or 9th. We'll go back to Greg Biffle in the 16 car now. Lap 102 as we remain caution-free tonight. A 2-second lead still for Biffle over Edwards, as it has been for quite a while. We'll also alternate them the different camera angles for the first time in the race once we get back to the start-finish line next time by. Talked about all the wins for Fords. That's a lot even by the end of the season. Let alone the fact that it's only in the first 19 races. You have 2 of them running 1-2 right now, Biffle and Edwards. Although Gordon has led the most laps in the race so far, Biffle had gotten around him early in this run. Edwards trying to speed things up a little bit back where he's at. Slowly trying to close in on that 16 car. Biffle maintaining what he's got for right now. Greg Biffle, NASCAR Heat Evolution. Did he have the Cheez-It car in that game? I think that was the last time he ran full-time season with Roush, if I'm not mistaken. He might have had Ortho also at that time. Cheez-Its have always been one of my favorite snack foods, so my guy Greg Biffle drove that car. I was super ecstatic. Actually, I think he had a KFC paint scheme at that time, too. At least they were all within a couple years of each other towards the end of his time at Roush. They might have all sponsored him that season, they might not have. They were all within that like 2014 to 2016 range. Cheez-It Ford Fusion. Wins are great, but win the championship, consistency is key. That is true, but if you have a lot of wins to go with it, that definitely helps. I mean, that's another thing to go with all that winning for Ford is the fact that there is a Chevy that is winning the championship right now. I don't remember when the last time I had KFC. It's probably been a couple years. At least since I worked at my last job, because there was one down the street. I can remember probably going there on lunch a time or two. Assuming Greg Biffle ends up going a 61 lap run again, that means he would have to pit at lap 122. Just down to a quarter tank of fuel left at this point in the run, so we're not too far out from the second pit stops of the race. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like a lot of people are gonna disagree with me when I say it. I kind of think KFC is a little overrated. I think it's good, but there's a lot of better chicken places out there personally that I would rank ahead of KFC. But I feel like KFC gets the most advertisement. And it might be because there's more of them in the US than like any other like chicken fast food restaurant or anything of it. But I mean, I could name like Bojangles, I think personally is better. I think Zaxby's is better. I think Popeyes is better personally also. I mean, it's good, but there's a lot of better chicken places. Raising Cane's, for anybody who's ever had that before, I think that's better. I'd probably rather go to Buffalo Wild Wings than... Even though it's more of a wing place, I still think the chicken's better than KFC. Oh, jeez. I don't know. There's just a lot of better chicken places, I think, than KFC. KFC's good, but I feel like that's probably another reason I haven't been to KFC is because I just would rather go to those other places. I don't even have any of those other places anywhere close to me, like Zaxby's and Bojangles. They're southern based. I have to drive like at least 4 or 5 hours south to find the first one. Gotta go all the way down to Kentucky. About Lexington to find the first Zaxby's closest to me. Chick-fil-A, yeah, there's another one. Chick-fil-A's better. KFC's not even in the top 5 for me. They sponsor my man Greg Biffle, but I will support them, but I can't support them like those others. They're not my top 5, I'll tell you that much. And it's not, like I said, it's not that it's bad. I just don't think it's as good as those other 5 I named. I've only had Church's once, and it was kind of dry when I had it, so I probably didn't have like their best like quality chicken, but I would probably put KFC ahead of that. I've only had, like I said, I've only had it once. It was kind of late at night. It was after the Atlanta race this year. We were looking for dinner, driving back to the place I was staying at, and ended up going there because it was across the street from where we were staying. I think we just kind of had like the whatever was left, basically. Train fan, thanks for tuning in. Treg Franklin, welcome. Appreciate you making your night. Have to get up at 7:30. Well, at least it's not too early. Rooster Kookster, thanks for tuning in. It looks like a lot of you guys at least agree with me on my KFC sentiment. I'm actually surprised. I thought there was going to be a lot of people defending KFC. I didn't think I'd be putting Colonel Sanders on blast tonight, but we did it. To think I was dressed as him is... I mean, they have the best mascot. Even though he's not really a mascot, he's a real person. They got the best founder of any chicken restaurant, I guess. Most recognizable. Oh, this is Kansas Speedway. Yeah, KFC is good. I think it's a little overrated. Long John Silver's pretty good. I'd almost argue Captain D's is better than Long John Silver's, though. I mean, they're kind of the same thing. But I prefer Captain D's over Long John's. Well, this is the 61st lap of the run. And Greg Biffle will not be pitting this time, so he's managed his fuel tank a little bit better this run than what he did on the last run. which is interesting. Go a few extra laps. In-N-Out's the most overrated. See, now I've only had that once, and it's more of like a West Coast thing, and I don't live on the West Coast. I think their fries were kind of iffy. I thought they were alright. I thought their burger was good. Like, if I go there again, I almost went there when I was in Phoenix last weekend, but I didn't. But if I go there again, or when I go there again, I'm probably just going to get like 2 burgers and not get any fries or something. I didn't really care for the fries, but I thought their burgers were good. I mean, they weren't like... I probably wouldn't put it in my top 5, but I thought they were good. Kind of like KFC. Like, it's not my first option to go, but I don't think it's bad. Some meatloaf sounds pretty good. I actually had Subway today, coincidentally, with our Subway paint scheme. We'll pit at lap 125. Biff will go one more lap, and then he'll hit pit road. So he's going 4 laps longer, which would mean this would be a 65-lap run on this fuel tank. He went 61 laps on the first run. So stretching it a bit further. Is the last lead lap car still to pit for the second time. He's not the very last one to pit the first pit stop, but this one he is. Slides the tires a bit. Has to get down. Almost missed the pits. That would have been catastrophic. 4 tires of fuel for Greg Biffle. No adjustments once again as he dominates the second run of the race. I feel like McDonald's is probably a fan favorite. I'd probably have to put like a Zaxby's or a Bojangles first, honestly. I think it's weird because I've always preferred like cheeseburgers over, say, like chicken. But since I've gotten older, I feel like I'm eating more chicken now than like I used to when I was younger. I think like just a good fried chicken might start to be like that. If I had to pick a last meal before, like if I knew I was gonna have a last meal, like that would probably be it. Think like a chicken barbecue or something now. It used to be a cheeseburger. I still like cheeseburgers, but get a nice like chicken barbecue. Might have to put that number 1. So Carl Edwards going to lead his first lap of the race at the start-finish line as he will cycle out in front of Greg Biffle, pitted about a little over half a dozen laps before him. So that 1.5 second lead Biffle had is gone, and now it's a 1.8 second lead towards Edwards. And Biffle will cycle out in second at least. I don't even really eat chicken sandwiches when I go to those chicken places. I usually eat... Well, I guess I do at Zaxby's. I have some of their different chicken sandwiches. Zaxby's is definitely my go-to right now. Anytime I travel anywhere south enough that I have to go to a NASCAR race, I make sure I get to Zaxby's at least once. Usually Zaxby's and Bojangles once, but I can't always find a Bojangles most of the places I go to, but there's usually a Zaxby's I see on the highway or something. I mean, I-75 does have quite a few Bojangles. But Zaxby's is like the first one that comes to mind, so I have that, and I'm like, alright, I'll make sure I get Bojangles later, and then sometimes I don't. Hooters, I've never had Hooters, so I think we could all pretty much think of the main reason why people would go there. Just say it's not for the food. I usually eat at the race. If it's a new track I go to, I usually try to eat there. I actually didn't eat at Phoenix when I was there. I didn't have a lot of money on my card, and it was card only, so I was kind of trying to save it. All the extra stuff I had to spend that weekend. Cliff Stanley, thanks for tuning in. I'm doing pretty great. Hopefully you are also. Eating Chick-fil-A right now. I've been talking about fast food today. Biffle trying to close in on Carl Edwards, and honestly right now, I think Edwards has made a good adjustment or something because Biffle's not even really closing in on him. I have eaten at Michigan before. I didn't this season. We usually, the last couple years at least, we've been tailgating. My dad will bring a grill. So we're usually like a portable grill or, you know, something we're usually eating. I think we had like shredded chicken sandwiches and shredded pork sandwiches this year. Some mac and cheese, some cornbread. We had a pretty good meal at the track this year. And then the year before that, I'm trying to think what we had the year before that. Like brisket or something? That sounds right, but I don't know if that was the case or not. I think the only time I ever ate at Michigan, it was, shoot, what race was it? And it wasn't actually on, it was on the scheduled race day. It would have been the 2019 spring race, because that got rained out to Monday. Well, we were waiting out the rain delay on Sunday underneath the grandstands, and we had some pulled pork nachos. That's the only time I could recall eating at Michigan. That was just because we were waiting out the rain and just decided to see what the track had for food. But outside of that, I have not eaten there. Live at the Carolina line. Live between Charlotte and Darlington. So you have like a centered hub where you have quite a few tracks around you, within a few hours at least, NASCAR wise. Ever eat at the Haggis Catfish Hotel, Salem, Tennessee? I don't even know exactly where Salem, Tennessee is on the map. What city is that closest to? Like, I've driven through Tennessee so many times, but like every now and then, like, you know, you'll see like road signs randomly of like an exit going towards like random places, and I don't really remember them until like I see them, and then it's a constant reminder that, oh yeah, okay, I kind of remember where I'm at this time. Off the top of my head, it doesn't ring a bell. Biffle just ran his fastest lap of the race of a 30.647 that last lap. Just past the halfway point in this race by a few laps. Biffle squeezes underneath the double zero of Kenny Wallace. Wallace door slams him. On the back straightaway heading into turn 3. Not sure what that was all about. Biffle forcing Wallace wide, and Wallace is in the wall off turn 4 as he overdrove the corner. Got tight in line behind the 16, and I think Karma might have paid its dues there. Biffle slowly starting to trim down that lead on teammate Carl Edwards right now. Brandon Martinez, welcome into the stream as well. Martinsville Hot Dog, yeah, one time I went to Martinsville was in the fall race last season, 2021. There's a good chance I'm going back to Martinsville next year. That's a track I definitely wanted to go back to again sometime, and I'll definitely be going there next year. I'm not sure that I'm going in the fall. I might be going in the spring instead because I plan on going back to Phoenix next year for the championship weekend. And because those are back-to-back races, I think I'm going to the spring race. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm probably leaning towards that. Especially because a lot of the races I'm going to in the fall next year, like Phoenix, I know I'm going to go to the Bristol Night race again. I'm not sure what Dega race I'm going to yet. If I go to Martinsville in the spring, it'll probably be a fall Dega race. So I'm going to a lot of races towards the end of next season. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of chicken places down south for sure. Probably why I eat it every time I go down there. Like I said, I don't have any of that near me. Like, if I lived down there, I wouldn't be going there every day. I gotta control myself. I just try to make sure I go there once while I'm down there for like a 3-4 day stretch. Not a bad thing to have one of those meals every now and then. It's okay to splurge on food a little bit from time to time. Southern Tennessee near Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah, I've never been anywhere near Memphis before, so that's probably why that didn't ring a bell to me. Like when I went to Kansas, I went through like St. Louis, then through Columbia, Missouri. So I never went like that far south. Been to Nashville, but Memphis is more south of that. What if I could add Nazareth? I can't remember if I put Nazareth on the Cup schedule or not. Lap car on the inside of Carl Edwards right now. Off of turn 2. Biffle's stuck behind the side-by-side traffic into turns 3 and 4. Got really tight in the middle of the corner. Edwards almost in the wall off turn 4 as he's trying to hold on to the race lead. And now the lap car pulls up right in front of Carl Edwards. Edwards into the middle. Lapper Joe Nemechek. Biffle slides off the bottom a bit. 3 wide. If Edwards is going to hold on to the lead here, that's a great move by the 99. Heads up driving by Carl Edwards as he holds on to the lead at Kansas. That was a great opportunity for Biffle to get to the lead, and he couldn't quite get there. Alternate through the different camera angles one more time in today's race. Edwards holding on. I have not eaten at a cookout restaurant. I've only seen very few of them, honestly. Isn't it like a Sonic? Like food-wise, like what they have to offer, isn't it closer to like a Sonic? I mean, yeah, I plan on going back to Michigan next year. It's just so close to home. I don't plan on moving out of state next year at all. Caution for the first time today at lap 147, and that's the first caution we've seen in over a race and a half. And it's Jimmy Johnson who's crashed off turn 4 and slides down into the infield grass towards the pit road entry. So caution number 1 is out. Jimmy Johnson gets loose off turn 4. He spins. Everybody able to evade to the outside. Johnson down again into the grass in the infield. It looks like Scott Wimmer out of the race as well up to this point. Biffle's going to pit. We'll see if the field will also come in, and they will. So 4 tires of fuel. Everybody going to top off for the third stop of the race, and it'll be under caution. Again, our first caution of the race tonight at lap 147 with about 121 laps to go. Long green flag run to start this race. Carl Edwards in the lead. Biffle in second. We'll see what's going to go down here and who's going to win the race out of the pits. And Edwards going to win the race off of pit road as well, and Biffle will be second. So top 2 went in 1-2, and they came out 1-2 in the same order. All the lap cars to the inside of the lead lap cars for the restart. Green flag back in the air at lap 151. First chance to see what's going to happen on our first restart of the race today. Biffle trying to get to the bottom quickly and does in line behind Kenny Wallace. And they're fanning out 3 wide further back pretty quickly. Biffle charges towards the bottom, 3 wide. Oh, there's contact up high. Both the lap cars up into the outside wall, and Greg Biffle out into the lead as Edwards had to check up. Keep from running into the back of the 36 and the 00, and Greg Biffle leads at Kansas at lap 152. Surprised that wasn't a wreck, honestly. Probably should have been. Joe Gibbs 3rd and 4th. I didn't realize Stewart and Labonte were right behind as well. They're still 3x3 off turn 4 back there. Will they make it? Edwards has made it past the lap cars as he's trying to run Biffle down. Biffle with the clean air advantage at this point in the run. We are going to take our final field pass of the race today. And we'll transfer to the 97 of Kurt Busch first. And Kurt's actually in 3rd right now, so 1, 2, 3 for Roush Fenway Racing as he almost made contact with Boris Said. Oh, nice. Going to the Lions game Thanksgiving. I feel like you might have said that before. I feel like I remember you or somebody saying that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I've always wanted to go to a Thanksgiving Day football game, especially the Lions. Not that far from home. I'd only really like to go if they play the Packers again. They used to do that like every 2 years. I never went. So I was always, visiting family. And I was like, one day they'll make it, I'll make it to that game. And now they don't even play the Lions on Thanksgiving anymore, so that kind of stinks. They had a home game against the Bears one year, too. But then they just stopped playing Detroit. Be interesting if Carl Edwards going to be able to get around Greg Biffle at any point in time here. Kurt Busch closing in very, very fast. Really loose off turn 2 as he clipped the apron. There's a slight bit of ground down the back straightaway. Biffle holding on. 1, 2, 3 at the front of the field. So these guys are really starting to pull away. Kurt Busch trying to get underneath Carl Edwards. Can't quite do so off turn 4. Keeping that run down into turn 1. And Kurt Busch, furthest he's been up in the running order all day today. Clears Carl Edwards. And there's a good chance he's going to be trying to go for his first lead of the race. Ran a fairly quick pace to get up to where he's at. Kurt Busch going way low off turn 4. Side drafts Biffle in the tri-oval. Kurt trying to get his first lap led of the race. And trying to get 5 bonus points. Flip the apron a bit, slides up, and barely clears Biffle off turn 2. He actually cut back down to the bottom quickly because he wasn't sure if he was going to be clear, but he was. Better safe than sorry there, and especially as he was starting to get loose, didn't want to make contact with the 16. And so Kurt Busch now leads for the first time in the race. We'll swap to Carl Edwards in the 99 next. We're trying to get another run towards the outside. That's going to leave the bottom open for Edwards, who gets underneath Biffle for second. Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart back at 4th and 5th. And to Edwards we go. And Edwards clears Biffle for second place going into turn 1. Tries to regain the race lead again. Just over 100 laps to go. And you have 3 Roush Fenway Fords all battling for the lead right now. Biffle Sits back, watches the 99 and the 97. Edwards back into the lead as he clears Kurt Busch off of turn 4. Good little race going on right now. And Mark Martin out of the race, so we won't be able to transfer to him at all during this final field pass. Go to Matt Kenseth next in the 17. Give it a couple more laps. Biffle still trying to get back around Kurt Busch right now. I will say these teammates are all racing each other cleanly. I haven't seen Jeff Gordon ever since he lost the lead just before lap 100. After he dominated the early going of the race after qualifying on the pole. Oh, starting to wonder if he's even still in the race. It's gone quiet all of a sudden. We'll go back to Kenseth at the line this time. Went 4 laps with him. He was a little bit further up in the running order not that long ago. And he is in 6th right now. Quite a ways off the lead, about 3.6 seconds already. Not even that far after the restart. Trying to catch those GGR Chevrolets of Stewart and Labonte. Hopefully in the next handful of laps. Yeah, we'll check the results as always. I always usually try to check the full running order just to see who all DNFs by the end. Or said trying to block Matt Kenseth. Kenseth getting set, a little arrow loose in the middle of 1 and 2, and that'll make for an easier pass for Kenseth. Didn't clear him yet off turn 2, but he should going into 3, and he does. Bonnie still fending off Stewart right now. Stewart giving his teammate a run for his money for that spot. So Biffle still trying to get by Kurt Busch for 2nd. I want to talk about a Roush Fenway dominated day. I want to pull Hendrick Motorsports to try to go 1, 2, 3, 4. That'd be pretty cool. It's possible. I mean, these guys are doing well. There's still one more pit stop yet before the end of the race. They obviously can't make it on fuel from when they last pitted. They're definitely within range to make it on one more stop. Playing field pretty even on strategy throughout this race, especially with that only caution we saw about 20 laps ago. Just gotta make sure you get to at least 61 laps to go before pitting. Guarantee you're going to make it on fuel to the end. 100 laps to go at the line that last time by. Stewart underneath Labonte for 4th, and he's going to clear him through 3 and 4 for the spot. Labonte looking for the run through the tri-oval, but he gets blocked by the 20. Kenseth has gained a few tenths of a second over teammate Carl Edwards. I do think when Edwards has the lead, he's probably been the toughest to pass of the Roush Fenway Fords and the hardest to close in on. That's both driving as Kenseth and Biffle for that matter. Kurt Busch was able to get around him, but then Edwards got back around Busch anyway, just a couple laps later. When you have 3 of the Roush Fenway Fords running 1, 2, 3, and all 3 of them are in the top 6 at points, 3rd, 4th, and 6th. Sadler, Gordon outside the top 6 as of right now at least. They've got a pretty good chance. Trying to hang on. It's their final lap with Kenseth. Closing on Edwards by about a half a second over 7 laps. We'll go back to Edwards for one more lap. Then we'll swap to Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle the rest of the way. Well, I should say Greg Biffle the rest of the way, specifically. Not Kurt Busch. Biffle sits in 3rd right now, just behind Kurt. 0.6 of a second off the race lead. Going into turn 1 with officially about 94 laps to go. 95 to go. Quite a bit of time left in this one. Hear about the Motorsport Games board members or something? No, I don't look into really much of the NASCAR gaming stuff. Like what's upcoming. I might hear it, I guess, from you guys, but I don't really go out of my way to look into much of that stuff. If I hear any of that stuff, it's usually like on a real Radman video or something randomly. It gets recommended to me and I have time to watch it. 30.750 that last lap for Biffle. Not too shabby. About a 10th off his fastest lap of the race. He does get underneath Kurt Busch and he'll pass it for 2nd place through turns 1 and 2. And he's now going to try to run down his other teammate of Carl Edwards. I think Kurt Busch is definitely the weakest of these three. I think the exact order you're seeing right now is about the exact order and how good their car is when getting into the clean air specifically. I mean, they're all fairly equal with them being teammates. That's why they're this close together right now, this late in the race. Especially consider the fact, at least for Biffle's sake, he hasn't made any adjustments all day through the 3 stops, 2 under green and then 1 under caution. I think if we get another caution before the fuel window opens to the end of the race, Biffle's going to stay out and try to keep the track position. We'll go from there. Biffle closed quite a bit through 1 and 2 that time on Edwards. "90 laps to go at the Kansas Speedway." Biffle kind of overdrove turns 1 and 2 just a little bit there. If we get less than 3 cautions in this race, then between last night's race at Las Vegas and tonight's race at Kansas, these will be the 2 races with the least amount of cautions this year. The only race with less than 3 was our caution-free race last night at Las Vegas. So we've had 1 so far today. It was at lap 147. Almost 40 laps ago already. We'll see if we get yet another lengthy green flag run. Last time we alternated through the different camera angles, which was supposed to be for the final time today. We got a caution, so we'll do that again and try to get all the way through it this time by. Spiffle rides behind Carl Edwards. Not looking to really force the issue right now to get by the 99. Just kind of riding it out. Let his teammates just kind of run their own race, and then as we get later into the going, they'll really try to duke it out. But for right now, we'll just kind of sit behind him, knowing that they're at least a pit stop out from the finish yet. Prime opportunity mainly for Elliott Sadler trying to grab the points lead back. Yep, very good chance. Although I haven't really seen him in the top 10 in a long while, too. So I know before that caution out of the pits, but he's at least 7th or worse. The same also goes for Jeff Gordon. We haven't seen him since he lost the lead almost 100 laps ago. We're backing off in the middle of the corner. To make sure he wasn't going to make contact with Edwards. Really close to him. Just want to upset the handling of that 99 car too much either. Taking the air off the rear spoiler of his race car. Edwards has a donut on the left side of his race car. I couldn't tell you what it's from. Not that I know of. Two are just absolutely tucked up underneath one another right now. Kurt Busch has really lost these two all of a sudden as this run gets longer and longer. Halfway through the fuel run right now. I thought Gordon had the car to beat, and that was definitely the case earlier, but really since those first pit stops, I don't think he was able to keep up with the track too much compared to the rest of the field, again, assuming he's still in the race. So he's falling back quite a bit. And we have absolutely not seen him in a long time. Kurt Busch is only a handful of points ahead of Edwards, and Edwards is a few spots ahead of him right now, so I don't know, we'll see. It'll be really interested to see where everybody's going to cycle after green flag pit stops. That's going to be the big difference maker, I think, in this one right now. Talked about Gordon and Biffle being the two hottest drivers recently. I'd say Kurt Busch has been probably the third hottest driver lately. That win at Indy, had 2 top 5s before that. He had 3 in a row. Then I think he finished 5th last night too. At Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. So 4 straight top 5s for Kurt Busch coming into this race. Of course, between Biffle, Kurt Busch, and Jeff Gordon, they've each won the last 4. Fuel window opens in 20 laps here. Crazy thing is if we get a caution right around the edge of the fuel window, that would really shake things up. Turn this into a fuel mileage race all of a sudden, because right now it's not going to be the case. It's an easy one-stopper to the end. It's just a matter of when will everybody exactly pit. No fuel only stop at the end here for Biffle, because he's going to have to go pretty close to a full run. You have to give him props, though. He's definitely managed his tires a lot better than what he did in that very first run of the race, because he hasn't made any adjustment changes, but he hasn't been nearly as loose since. Car was very edgy before, but the more laps he gets under his belt, the more comfortable he feels driving this race car, and it doesn't feel quite as bad now that we're almost 200 laps in versus when he was just a few laps in. Or even 50 laps in on that first run. Trying to get from the rear of the field to the front as quickly as he could. He's definitely led laps today. Maybe not as many as he would have liked, but he's definitely leading laps. We'll go back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race once we get back to the line this time by. And we'll have unofficially 75 laps to go. Still a little ways before lap traffic will be hit. Probably not going to get to any lap cars until green flag pit stops at least. I wonder if Gordon's still leading the most laps led at this point in the race too. It's possible. Biffle right there behind Edwards. Biffle going low off turn 2. Looking for an opportunity to take the lead underneath Carl Edwards into turns 3 and 4. And he will take advantage of that situation. He is clear. And Edwards might have brushed the wall off turn 4. Didn't lift as he was starting to wash up the racetrack just a bit. Pushed it a bit too hard, and Greg Biffle is out in front at Kansas at lap 195. Biffle's got that track position advantage. Earl, thanks for tuning in. Welcome back. "70 laps to go this time by." I didn't ask you guys tonight's trivia question yet on the channel, so I'll ask it right now. Tonight's Kansas Track Fact and trivia question is this: we're the only two NASCAR Xfinity Series drivers to win from the pole at Kansas. That's tonight's question. Only 2 drivers in NASCAR history have won an Xfinity race at Kansas from the pole. Who are they? At the end of lap 200, I'll give you guys a hint if nobody gets the answer before then. We'll see who gets it. I don't think Edwards is really looking to try to pass Greg Biffle right now. Made that mistake, got up into the wall off turn 4, and Biffle got around him. I was wondering why Rayner got hidden there for a second. Edwards close to Biffle. Biffle holding on to the bottom lane, though, into turn 1. Biffle went a little wider off turn 4 that last time, and Edwards almost got underneath him. Same thing at Las Vegas, where once Biffle gets the lead, it's tough to pass him. A few times he has been out in front so far today. Dropped your phone and hit it by... What are the odds that that happens? Well, if we win this, it'll be the 8th win of the season. And the last time we have won races, we actually won 3 in a row. Twice this year for the first 6 wins. Won 3 in a row, then we went about 7, 8 races before winning another 3. Then we went about another 6 races before winning 2. If we win tonight after winning last night at Vegas, so maybe we end up winning a 3rd in a row tomorrow night at Darlington as well. Who knows? That might be the trend. When we win in 3s. I wonder who the last driver was to win 3 races in a row 3 different times during the season. Has to have been a long time. Coming up on a lap car of John Andretti in the 14. He's already 1 lap down. Quite a few drivers are lapped down after we went over half the race caution-free to start. Our only yellow so far tonight was at lap 147. We're at lap 205 right now. Biffle to the inside of Andretti off turn 2. Andretti trying to side draft the 16 right now. We're down to just 62 laps to go at the line this time by. Edwards struggling to get by Andretti. Squeezed him quite a bit. Clears him off turn 4. Biffle's got about a 3/10 of a second lead now. Start-finish line. We'll see if Edwards can try to reel that 16 car back in. Pit window's open to make it on fuel to the end of the race. We have quite a few drivers in right now. The plan for Greg Biffle is going to be to pit with 60 laps to go, so he's going to stay out a couple more laps here. And it looks like Edwards is going to pit right now, in fact, and he's going to try to short pit on Biffle to see if he can cycle back out in front of him. Biffle will stay out this time by, and then he'll pit with 60 to go, just to ensure he's going to make it. He should make it from here to the finish anyway, but just out of a safety precaution. Watch the draft on the back straightaway from a lap car coming out of the pits. 142, but Biffle had to check up on the bottom in turn 3 right behind him. This is probably going to cost him for this lap too, because he's on fresher tires than Biffle, and that's going to be tough for the 16 to get by him. Biffle way too low into 1. That's going to cost him a lot of time. It's kind of weird. It actually got loose in the tri-oval. I pulled up real close to him. That was not a good entry into turn 1 for Greg Biffle. And he will pit this time. Final stop of the day. Going to try to get as much as he can coming into the pits without speeding. And definitely his best pit road entry of the race so far. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments. Final pit stop of the race for Greg Biffle. You haven't seen any guesses. Cindric and Bell. The only guesses I've seen for the trivia question tonight. Again, the trivia question is, who are the only two drivers to win from the pole in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Kansas? Matt Kenseth into the pits. There goes Edwards by pitting 2 laps before Biffle. He's going to cycle out in front of him. Not by much, but it's just enough. Biffle will be in second. Looks like Sterling Marlin leads for the first time today. Former Kansas winner. It is not Blaney and Logano. Again, not Cindric or Bell either. Not Briscoe and Kyle Busch. The hint I was going to give you guys is that they are 2 former Cup Series champions. The 2 former Cup champs. So driving it in really deep there. 5 cars up towards that outside lane. And Biff will get to clear both of them with that 3-wide pass off the exit of the corner. So when will Sterling Marlin pit, as he has gotten some bonus points leading his first laps of the day, and he will pit this time off turn 4. So Carl Edwards going to be back in the lead at the start-finish line, either this time by or the following time by. And Greg Biffle going to try to run down his teammate the 3rd and final time, hopefully. It's not Johnson and Stewart. At the start of lap 215, I'll give you guys the answer to the trivia question if nobody gets it before that. Again, who are the only 2 drivers in Xfinity Series history to win from the pole at Kansas? And the hint is that they are 2 former Cup Series champs. Former meaning they've won champs, they're not retired. I haven't seen the right combination of drivers yet. Not Logano and Dale Jr. Dale Jr. never won a Cup championship. It is not Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr. Not Custer and MTJ. Custer hasn't won a Cup title. Like hell would freeze over before Custer wins a Cup title at this rate. The way he's ran the last, first 3 seasons at SHR. Got 1 win, around a 16 playoff exit. His rookie season. It is not Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch. But the answer is Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. That is the combination. We're at lap 215 right now. I haven't seen the correct answer. Joey Logano, Kyle Busch would be the answer to tonight's trivia question. Those are the only 2 drivers to win from the pole in the Xfinity Series at Kansas. Carl Edwards really trying to side draft Kyle Petty as he gets around the 45 car through turns 3 and 4. Greg Biffle running down Carl Edwards pretty quickly right now. 50 laps to go at the start-finish line this time by in the Banquet 400 at Kansas. 1 caution so far tonight. Greg Biffle going to give Carl Edwards a run for his money. Two quickest cars throughout probably the final 2/3 of this race. We have one more shot at each other as Biffle gets by Petty off turn 4 this time. Closes on Edwards into turns 1 and 2. Biffle right there. All over Edwards on the back straightaway. Closing in on Shane Neal, another lap car. Edwards moved up the track just a bit. So did Biffle, and Biffle couldn't quite get around him. Biffle trying to squeeze underneath the 99. He might be there going into turn 1. And he is. Side by side for the race lead. And Biffle is going to shut the door clear of Edwards off turn 2. But Edwards with the crossover, down in 3. He's going to try to shut the door off turn 4. And he is clear. Biffle going to try to get him back. His two teammates are going at it for the lead right now. Edwards not done with the battle. And Biffle clear barely off turn 2. What a battle for the race lead. And Biffle shuts the door on the inside. Edwards not going to cross him over this time. Edwards drove it in way too deep. He might have clipped the apron and washed up the track a bit. A couple lap cars right in front of Greg Biffle, the 171. And then the 44 of Terry Labonte. Biffle trying to get underneath Bonnie off of turn 4, side by side in the tri-oval. Terry is squeezing the 16 car. Biffle's trying desperately not to make contact with them, and Edwards just got by the 171. Is going to try to get to the inside of Biffle, and they're going to be 3 wide with Labonte on the outside. But Terry Labonte kind of held Greg Biffle up, and that's going to get Carl Edwards to the lead into the corner. Biffle's going to drive it in deep. Oh, he just took his teammate into the wall. And Biffle's out in front. They could not hold it 3 wide off of turn 4. After Labonte had held up Greg Biffle, and 60 of Biffle kind of clipped the apron and ended up clipping Carl Edwards in the left rear. Couldn't just be a battle with those two cleanly. Lap cars kind of had to get in the way. And Edwards hit the wall pretty hard. I don't even know that he's in second place anymore. Biffle's got a 3.2 second lead. More contact now with Labonte. I've had enough of Terry Labonte right now. We do stay green, as we have for quite some time now. About another 80 lap green flag run here once we get a couple more laps into it. The 171 car's holding up Greg Biffle. Not as badly as Terry Labonte was, but trying to side draft him. Biffle gonna be clear. Sweaty Jackets of Blue Cheese, thanks for tuning in. Don't mind your channel name. We've got some weird ones on the channel. That's not the only one. I probably think that Kurt Busch is in second place now. I doubt Carl Edwards is still in second. And if he is, he's definitely quite a ways off the lead right now. And he hit the wall pretty hard. I don't know that he's going to have enough pace to catch Biffle in these final 41 laps without a caution. Hate to see teammates get together like that. They were battling pretty hard with one another, but it was a clean battle until that contact when Biffle got into the left rear corner panel with Carl Edwards. Drove it in a little too hard. They were 3 wide with Terry Labonte on the outside, which is why things were as tight as they were. And Labonte had held Biffle up for about a lap and a half, leading to Edwards catching the 16 in the first place once again, because Biffle was slowly starting to pull away from him after taking the lead. And they went back and forth there for a little bit before Biffle started to pull away. But Biffle was finally able to put together a few good corners after clearing the 99 for consecutive laps, and he was kind of set sail. And now Biffle's kind of on his own right with a 3-second lead and just 38 laps to go right now. And trying to get his 8th win of the season and go back-to-back once again. I mean, the Roush cars have been so equal in this one that I don't know that Biffle's going to pull away anymore, but I don't know that he's going to give up that much time either. Not without another pit stop left, and there's no more pit stops left. Kind of good the caution didn't come out because that would have caused the yellow. Which means I would have had to restart the tail end of the field. It took me over 50 laps to get to the lead earlier. Granted, there's a lot less cars on the lead lap now considering we've only had 1 caution, but still. WTF, want the food? See the skid marks from the contact in 3 and 4 between Biffle and Edwards as well. I don't know how much damage the 16 really got from that contact with Edwards. I don't think he really has that much. I don't see anything out of the ordinary, really. Like there's a fender flare of any kind. Dark Crypto, thanks for tuning in. Down to 33 to go. Kansas Speedway. And a 2.5 second lead for Biffle. That lead is closing. Stayed at 3 seconds there for a little bit. Somebody's trying to put on a late charge. I'm really hoping it's not out of randomness Jeff Gordon or potentially even Carl Edwards, considering Biffle's accidentally made contact with both drivers to get to the lead today. It's like the only time I've really made contact with a car all day, and it was nearly turning a car in the left rear corner panel both times in the middle of 3 and 4. Down to 30 to go. 2.2 second lead off of turn 2. Next lap car is Kenny Schrader, the 49 Schwann's machine. Gonna have to deal with a little bit of dirty air behind Schrader. Wasn't too bad through 3 and 4. Be a lot closer to him in turns 1 and 2 this time. That was a little worse that time through 1 and 2 for Biffle. Pulls to the inside of Kenny Schrader, trying to get around him. Can't do it there. Slow into 3 and 4. Now Biffle's underneath of Schrader. Door to door off turn 4. Biffle hasn't cleared the 49 yet. And now he'll clear the trioval. Oh, Kenny Schrader's going to cross Biffle over. Try to. Side by side. This is holding Biffle up. 49 is holding up Greg Biffle so much right now. Where's the blue flag when you need it? Quite a bit of clean air in front of the 49 again. Biffle could just get around him. Cleared him, but then Schrader crossed him back over. Biffle squeezes underneath Schrader through 1 and 2. Pins the car down towards the bottom. Schrader's hanging in. And now Biffle's clear off turn 4. I don't think there's going to be a crossover from the 49 this time. Last lap was a 30.918. Slowed down a couple tenths of a second, about 3/10 of a second from what he ran a few laps ago. Thought I said shawarma instead of Schwab. I said Schwan. It's not it's not either one. Shawarma. Yeah, Schwann's is the sponsor. Schwan? I don't know why I said it like that. That was their mascot's a goose, isn't it? Or like a duck? A duck or goose? I think it's a goose. Oh, I think I just saw somebody get in the wall in turns 3 and 4. We do continue to stay green, though. Yeah, it's the, I don't know what all foods they have. I know they have a lot of desserts. It's almost like an ice cream truck. Meals on Wheels. You have to, like, pre-order it. Then they'll deliver the food to your house in advance, but I don't know what all they have. I think it's just like frozen foods. Like, I don't think it's like all desserts and pastries. I think it's just frozen foods in general. That just happens to be some of it. Move or be moved. Well, Greg Biffle just clinched the most laps led now in today's race, as we have 22 laps to go. So it'll be a max points day for the second straight day if Biffle can get the win. They do have good ice cream. I used to have it a lot when I was a kid. My grandparents used to order Schwann's all the time. I think they did it just for us, though. Always have a bunch of ice cream cones. The ice cream cones with, like, the coated chocolate and the nuts on it. Used to have those ice cream cones all the time. fudge bars. Yeah, they all came from Schwann's. I think they actually delivered to our school too, like annually. That we always used to get like Little Caesars pizza kits too when I was in elementary school also. Sent us like flyers home with our parents so they could like order whatever they wanted. Kids would pick it up and bring it home from school. "19 laps to go. That lead is cut down to a second. I think it might be Tony Stewart in second place. I don't think it's any Roush Fenway Ford. I think Tony Stewart's car's coming alive. I was going to say, the Roush cars have been pretty equal. I was kind of surprised if it was a Roush car running down Greg Biffle. It makes more sense that Tony Stewart's the one clicking away these laps. He's really came up out of nowhere. He hasn't led a single lap all day. We're down to 18 laps to go, and he's within a second of the lead. Kenny Schrader costed Biffle about half a second of that. It's a little bit quicker than Stewart through 1 and 2. Tony's trying to get around Kenny Schrader right now. I think he's caught up into his dirty air. He's still a couple car lengths behind him. It might cost him a little bit of time. Once Stewart gets around Schrader, though, he's going to be full set at trying to catch Greg Biffle. Schrader going really wide through turns 1 and 2. Stewart's still not quite able to get around him yet. That's unfair. He's getting out of the way. He was already a lap down when Biffle caught him the first time. I don't know why he was battling Biffle so hard. Tony Stewart, he just let right by. He pulled up to the outside lane. A couple corners in a row. Stewart caught him the second time and cleared him in one corner. He's not going to be crossing Tony Stewart over, and he's going to stay wide for whoever's in third place to get by him as well. There's a car right behind Stewart as well. There are actually two cars that are closing in on Biffle late here. And Edwards has probably been more dominant of the Roush Fenway Fords, even though Biffle's led more laps. It took Edwards a lot longer to get to the lead today than when it did Greg Biffle, and that's why Biffle's actually led more laps than Carl Edwards. Once Edwards got out in front, he's led quite a few himself. I'd be surprised if both the 99 and the 16 end up leading more than 100 laps, or at least pretty darn close to it. Might be Bobby Labonte. I think it's an orange car. It doesn't look like a green car back there. And whoever it is, they're going to get underneath Tony Stewart. No, not quite. Stewart shuts the door. They keep battling for second, though. It's going to allow Biffle to maintain his lead. He's got a 9/10 of a second lead. And officially 15 laps to go in the race. Another lap car Biffle's going to be closing in on. And there's a handful more cars much further up the way. I don't know that Biffle's going to catch those guys. He's definitely going to catch this next one. And I think it's Scott Riggs in the 10. 1/10 of a second lead for Greg Biffle over Tony Stewart. 13 laps to go at Kansas Speedway. You know, Biffle's car's been a bit looser later in the run. He's managed his tires a bit better. But he is going nearly a full fuel run. 60 laps. And under the full green flag runs we had earlier today, he went 61 laps on fuel and 65 laps on fuel. So he's going to be good to the end. Clip the apron a little bit in 1 and 2. Washes up the track in the middle of the corner. These cars are really racing out there. They might catch him. They keep battling side by side like that. There's a couple of them 2 by 2. Biffle close enough in the dirty air now behind Scott Riggs. His car tightening up in the middle of turns 3 and 4. 11 laps to go. A 7/10 of a second lead at the line. Riggs down on the bottom right in front of Biffle. Again through 1 and 2. Biffle's finally going to be close enough to Riggs off the exit of turn 2. He'll get underneath. Tried to get underneath him into turn 3. Riggs giving Biffle just enough room. Make that pass. They are 3 wide in the tri-oval up ahead. They are really racing. Biffle's going to catch him. They keep racing like that. 10 laps to go. Stewart hanging in on the bottom right now. One car was blowing up down on the apron on the backstretch. I couldn't tell who it was. These cars are running so tight up there. Off of turn 4. With a little arrow loose with Scott Riggs behind him in the tri-oval. And Riggs is going to get underneath the 16 because of it. Well, this is not what Greg Biffle needs right now. Scott Riggs underneath him. Biffle will get a side draft to 10 on the backstretch. And Tony Stewart has now just lost second place. I don't know if that's Kurt Busch or Carl Edwards right behind him. It's one of them. Half a second lead. Biffle trying to get underneath Scott Riggs again. Into turns 1 and 2, he's going to be able to do it side by side. Oh, Biffle not clear as he pulled up into Riggs. And that's going to allow Riggs again to get back underneath the 16. Biffle struggled in lap traffic late between Kenny Schrader and Scott Riggs alone. 7 laps to go. Biffle stuck on the outside of the racetrack. And Riggs moves up right in front of the 16 in the middle of the corner. Biffle into the middle. Here comes Carl Edwards. There's contact between Scott Riggs and Greg Biffle, and Carl Edwards is going to get to the lead. Eighth of a tank of fuel left, but again, no issue there. I think Tony Stewart was the car that blew an engine back in third. And that's, well, he wasn't second at the time. I think that's why Edwards got around him. So Stewart blows an engine late while running second. Edwards is the one who has regained the lead from Greg Biffle. We're back to where we were at the beginning of the fuel run. Biffle's car has definitely got real loose. This feels very similar to how it was at the very start of the race today in that first run. I think the lap cars had Biffle wear his tires out a little more during this run than the run before it. 5 laps to go. And the lap cars could be the difference maker if Edwards and Biffle catch them. It was lap traffic in which helped Biffle win at Michigan on an intermediate earlier this season when he went from 4th to 1st in the final corner. What will happen here? So Edwards has battled back. That right rear tire's in the yellow and the tire wear indicator. No wonder why Greg Biffle's car is getting looser at this point in the race. They're still going side by side. They're not 3 wide up there anymore, but they are running each other very tightly, and there's contact as they made contact with each other, and one of them ended up scraping the wall off of turn 2. And they will be coming to just 3 to go. Now they're 3 wide off of turn 4. Will they make it? They do. There's nobody in the wall that time. They are in a mad scramble, as well as Edwards and Biffle are in a scramble for the lead. Biffle going low into 1. He had the run off turn 4. Gets back underneath Carl Edwards. And he's going to slide clear off turn 2. Maybe, yep, he is clear. With 2.5 laps to go. They will catch this group of lap cars. And will Edwards have anything for Greg Biffle again as he lost a bit of time? Not only losing the lead through 1 and 2, but Biffle quicker through 3 and 4 as well. And was that the last shot Edwards had at the 16? Oh, Biffle clipped the apron again. Middle of the corner. Edwards has a big run off turn 2. Takes the dive into 3. Biffle's going to be there. Maybe Biffle won't catch the lap traffic. Final lap off turn 4. Biffle gaps Edwards through 3 and 4 for the second straight lap. No cautions on the final lap. It's going to be a 1 caution race today at Kansas. And Edwards has one more shot, and I don't think Biffle's going to catch that lap traffic in front of him. So I do not think it's going to cost Greg Biffle. He struggled in lap traffic in this final run, but Edwards, if he had a few more laps, I think he was going to have a better chance to beat the 16. Final time, off turn 4, the checkered flag is waving, and Greg Biffle will win back-to-back races as he is going to win at Kansas and Las Vegas in back-to-back nights. The Subway paint scheme, this one specifically of the 2 that Biffle has on this game, has brought us more winning luck. We have won all, 4 races with this paint scheme this season? It's unbelievable. Paint scheme of the year. Stiff for the Biff. A little bit of a late scare there with Carl Edwards taking the lead late, but it's Greg Biffle who secures the W for the 8th time this season and back-to-back for the 3rd time. He'll try to three-peat for the 3rd time in a row as well tomorrow night at Darlington. And just as the thumbnail shows, Greg Biffle's a winner at Kansas. A 1-2-3 finish for Roush Fenway Racing. Man, Tony Stewart blew an engine running second. He could have been up there. It could have been a 3-car fight for the win, but instead it was just the 2 cars of Greg Biffle and Kurt Busch. Margin of victory, 0.2 of a second, 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 24 seconds total time on tonight's race. 165.25 miles per hour was the average race speed. 19 lead changes, 1 caution for 3 caution laps in this race. I think we had, 1 or 2 more lead changes than what we did last night. And we also had 1 caution where last night's race we had no caution. So 1 caution in the last 2 races combined. The least amount of cautions we had in a race this year before last night's race at Vegas where we went caution-free was 3. And we've literally had less than 3 cautions 2 races in a row. Less than 2 races in a row. It's insane. Kurt Busch led 2 laps today. Towards the, final 100 laps or so, he took the lead there and then quickly lost it again to Edwards right before those final pit stops. It was off that 1 restart, I believe, where Kurt was able to get to the lead as he ran down Edwards, but he didn't really have anything for those other 2 Roush Fenway Fords there in that final fuel stint of the race. 115 laps led today for Greg Biffle, 71 for Edwards, who started 3rd. Biffle started at the rear. Kurt Busch again led 2. So he does get 5 bonus points on the 3rd place finish. Elliott Sadler, who came in 2nd in points, quiet day, finishes 4th, started 2nd. He was really nowhere to be found there in the second half of the race until the very end. Bobby Labonte ends up finishing in 5th place. Matt Kenseth 6th with 2 laps led as well. Those were, I believe, during green flag pit stops. Dale Jr. finishes 7th with no laps led. Dale Jarrett 8th. Jimmy Johnson 9th. And Ryan Newman will round out the top 10 in tonight's race. Mike Bliss is not getting another top 10 today. Finished 13th. And I think Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart DNF'd. Yeah, Jeff Gordon blew a motor. So I was wondering what happened, but he ended up blowing an engine at lap 80. That was right around when him and Greg Biffle got together. And if I'm not mistaken, I think when he hit the wall, he killed his race car and he was out after that. I think Gordon hit the wall hard enough because he led 75 laps. And I think it was after that contact with Biffle and him getting into the wall, he ended up DNFing. Because it was lap 80 where he pulled out. And again, he led 75. I know Biffle led 5 laps during green flag pit stops at first time. It was the only reason he took the lead from Gordon. So we might have accidentally wrecked Gordon out of the race, even though we didn't get a caution for it. I think he pulled into the pits right after he hit the wall. I mean, it was a pretty hard hit, but I kind of feel bad for that. Honestly, he was the points leader coming in. But we didn't get a caution for it, so I couldn't really punish myself by going to the rear of the field. So we ended up just staying green, and come to find out, we ended up winning the race and leading the most laps. So, whoops. Anyway, Mark Martin DNF'd. We saw that at lap 64. Jeff Green DNF'd. We saw that. We saw Scott Wimmer was on pit road. He DNF'd. Kyle Busch blew an engine, I guess. Jeremy Mayfield blew an engine. We saw Tony Stewart blow a motor late. So we ended up with 7 cars at DNF tonight, so quite a few. So the points leader, Jeff Gordon, blows a motor They're leading 75 laps early in the race. He probably had the dominant car. No wonder he wasn't there at the end because he wasn't there since lap 80. We might have just wrecked the fastest car out of the race. That could have been a battle between Gordon and Biffle at the end rather than Gordon and Edwards if that didn't happen. So Edwards is definitely, I should say Gordon is definitely going to lose the points lead. I'd probably say Sadler is going to be the points leader now. We'll check the points real quick before we end the stream. 16 races to go. The Darlington 400 at Darlington tomorrow night. 293 laps, 400 miles will be the scheduled distance at the Lady in Black. I'd say daytime or nighttime. Let me check that again. I thought it was supposed to be a night race. Oh, it is a day race. Never mind. That kind of stinks. I thought it was going to be a night race. Maybe it will be a night race. Who knows? Pretty tight points battle, though. Biffle gains 1 spot in the points on Jimmy Johnson, who finished top 10, but Biffle gets a max points day for the second straight night, moves from 6th to 5th. He has 66 points out of first. As mentioned, Elliott Sadler will be the new points leader once again. Not the first time Sadler's been in the points lead this season. He's had a great year thus far. Carl Edwards is now in a tie for second with Kurt Busch, and they are only 11 points back. Gordon is now 58 points back after coming into the race, 29 points ahead of the 38 of Sadler. So the points have gotten tight with the points leader blowing an engine tonight, and the top 6 are within 91 points and all within 1 race worth of the standings. Dale Jarrett with the top 10 is now up to 7th in the standings. Tony Stewart blew an engine. He fell back a few spots. He's now 9th. Dale Jr. just behind him, still in 10th. There's Ken's at 12th, and then Mark Martin with back-to-back DNFs, now 16th. I wondered if he was going to fall outside the top 15. 2 straight DNFs, though, for Mark Martin. I mean, he was like 13th or 14th in points before Las Vegas last night, but he finished 42nd and 43rd in the last 2 races with engine failures, unfortunately. So that hurts. That is not very many points. He didn't lead any laps in either race either, so no bonus points to show for. That's going to be it for tonight's stream. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Start Time. Darlington, it'll be a fun race. Darlington's always a fun race, and maybe we'll have a classic Darlington finish like NASCAR did there in the mid to early 2000s as well, or even in recent years as well on the worn-out Darlington surface. Should be, again, a fun race tomorrow. See you guys. Have a good rest of your Tuesday night, and back better than ever again tomorrow.